Hey out there. Thanks for tuning in. We have a couple houses on the market, two of them actually. The one in Manawan, we had two offers on. I mean, the written contracts and everything was all formalized. And they fell through. You know why they fell through? Buyer's remorse. So today I want to talk a little bit about buyer's remorse because it's not pleasant for a seller, and I know it's not pleasant for a buyer. Wikipedia defines buyer's remorse as the sense of regret after having made a purchase. Well, in the example I just gave on the Manawan house, they never even made the purchase. They went through with the contract, but that's where they stopped. Cold feet. They got cold feet. Second guessing themselves. So, what are some strategies to avoid buyer's remorse? As a buyer or as a seller? I think one of the key things everyone has to take into consideration is who's affected. You know, like if you're out there making offers, the seller's affected when you back out. And here, I'm not judging anybody. It's a big purchase, and I understand buyers getting buyer's remorse. However, we're going to talk about some strategies to avoid it. There's a joke. Well, it's not a joke. It's a riddle. There's 3 frogs on a log. One of them makes a decision to jump off the log. How many frogs are on the log? 3. 3 frogs are still on the log. Just because you make a decision doesn't mean you're doing anything with it. Yes, it's a great starting point, but until you move, nothing happens. So as a buyer, here's a suggestion. Before you go out to look at property, because everybody thinks they want to be a homeowner, ask yourself the question, why do I want a home? Why do I want to be a homeowner? You may come up with unclear answers that indicate maybe this isn't the time you want to go out. You know, maybe you're happy with where you're renting or something like that. And you're like, right now, I'm going to put it off for a year until I can answer that question more clearly. Now, a lot of the answers that would come to me when I was purchasing my first house were, I want to be able to do whatever I want on my property. I want to paint the walls purple if I want. I want to plant flowers that I want outside, and I don't want a landlord telling me what to do. That was part of why I want to be a homeowner. However, everybody doesn't have those feelings. Maybe somebody wants to stay as a renter. There's freedoms that come along with being a renter that I guess you don't have as a homeowner. I don't know them, but anyway, the point is, come up with an answer, make a decision. If you want to put it off, put it off. Once you make a decision, though, you gotta move. You gotta get out there. You gotta start looking and doing some research. It's exciting. The example I gave on Manawan with buyer's remorse, people putting in contracts and then backing out, and I'm calling it buyer's remorse instead of something else, is because, for example, the first contract came over, sent it over to my attorney, and within 2 or 3 days, didn't hear anything. There was a little whisper that the woman who was buying the house was concerned with the age of the furnace and how much longer it was going to last. The thing is that if that was the concern, if they really made a decision to be a homeowner, then we could have overcome that obstacle in a variety of different ways. I'm not even saying that it would have went through, but she didn't try. Well, let's just say a furnace costs $4,000 and they were offering me X amount of dollars. Maybe they want to lower their price by $4,000 so they can get a new furnace. How about getting an HVAC guy out there to give her more details as far as the age of the furnace and how much longer it'll last, and maybe getting on a monthly plan so that it's like a type of insurance. There's so many different things that could have been done. She could have asked me to get a home warranty on it. However, that never happened. So really, I'm chalking that up as buyer's remorse. I don't think she really made a decision she wanted to be a homeowner. And if she did, it wasn't clear. You can't have everything as far as security as a homeowner. Something's bound to go wrong. Now, as a seller, you could put some things in place. They're not foolproof, but you could put some things in place. It's another strategy to try to help the buyer not get buyer's remorse. I've spoken about these things before, but let me go over them one more time. As a seller, I want to make sure in the contract I have a decent sized deposit that's coming in from the buyer. Money seems to generate more enthusiasm from the buyer to proceed and keep on going with the transaction. So on a typical transaction, I'm going to want $10,000 from the buyer right after attorney review. Now the buyer has $10,000 deposit with my attorney, and yes, they can get that back because there's some contingencies in the contract, but coming out of pocket $10,000 shows me you're serious. The timing. I don't want to set a closing up for 3 months down the road or 2 months down the road. There's no reason why a closing has to take longer than 30 days. I know in today's world they say it can't happen, but I was in the mortgage business for quite a while, and I know things can happen within 30 days. So we don't want to string along the closing too long. It gives the buyers more time to get buyer's remorse. Access. What do I mean by access? There's no reason why a buyer has to go back to the property more than the initial time that they take a walkthrough, maybe when they're going through with inspections, but they don't have to keep on coming in and out of the house. From my experience, it leads to buyer's remorse. There's a crack on the wall that I didn't see before. Or you know what, I don't know about this neighborhood. Or they just start thinking in a way that they start second guessing themselves, and they have a sense of regret. Well, we didn't quite purchase this yet. We can back out now. So I've had an experience where a realtor allowed the buyers by themselves to go back into the house without my knowledge. Well, the next day there was some kind of a report written up from the buyer's neighbor that said he was a contractor, that there was all these flaws in the house. They just wanted to be able to use a contingency to get out of the contract. But it was really buyer's remorse. So I don't know if asking this question, who is affected, would help a buyer come up with a better decision, or at least a clearer answer to why do I want to be a homeowner. But if you know behind the scenes who's affected by this transaction, the buyer, the seller, realtors, there's usually 2 realtors on the transaction, the lawyers, the title people, the loan staff. When I say loan staff, so you have a loan officer, you have a processor, you have an underwriter, you probably have some other sort of an assistant or something. So you're talking about a lot of people that are affected by the purchase of a home. I put down inspectors and appraisers at the bottom because they usually get paid right up front, so it's really not that big of a deal for them. But you got all these people that are working on a transaction that you as a buyer have said that you want to complete. And now you get buyer's remorse and you walk away, and everybody put time, money, and energy into the transaction. I'm not here crying over spilled milk, like how dare you or anything like that. I am saying that I don't think a lot of people take into consideration that a lot of people put a lot of time and energy into putting a purchase together. So if you come up with the answer after you ask yourself the question, why do I want to be a homeowner? And it all points to, I'm going to be a homeowner. This is awesome. And take that into consideration. There's a lot of people affected. Until next time.